for about a half an hour. So I'm so scatterbrained. I'm like, what planet am I on?
And with that, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I have to wonder all the time what planet I'm on, because yeah, kind of feels like Mars once in a while. I have an adult drink with me today. This is like my max out quantity of wine I have at a time.
Is it like a lightweight? Is it like a sweet wine or?
Demi-sweet. Like not all the way sweet, but there.
Right.
I kind of like it when it's white wine to be on the sweet side, and when it's red to be on the dry side, because I'm weird.
Yeah.
And this is actually a Romanian type of wine, which I haven't had in a long time, but we decided to try it. And that said, NaNoWriMo is over. How do you feel? How do you feel after this? Hi, DL Tillery. Nice to have you here again.
I enjoyed NaNoWriMo. I enjoyed it because it helped me get onto a routine, and it really helped me focus on my project and everything. But I noticed, so I already have like anxiety. So, I mean, it's not terrible anxiety, but when I started to fall behind, I started noticing that instead of enjoying it and having fun with it, it started to trigger my anxiety. And so I had to actually step away and remind myself that it was a voluntary, fun activity that I was doing. So when I hit the 50,000 mark, I was like, oh, praise the Lord, I can be done with this.
I totally get that. Sometimes I forget but then I remember, well, I'm a full-time author. This is my job. So there's the pressure there. So basically every month is Nano month, only that during Nano month, it's a lot easier to handle it because everybody's doing it. So it's fun because everyone's doing the writings and the whole hype and whatever, and I feel better about myself. So because I'm so professional, I skipped the whole introduction part. And while people might know you from Sarah's channel, let's do like a proper introduction for the new viewers. So you go on ahead first because you're the guest.
Okay. All right. Well, I am Dana G, and I write adult fantasy romance. And I am currently trying to publish the Awakening series while working on a smaller, more graphic project.
Graphic as in explicit, or graphic as in with drawings?
Graphic as in explicit. I don't draw. Okay, cool. I could not draw. I mean, I could do like, and this is Joey, and
okay, I get it. Because it could be either way. Like for fantasy, at least it works in either direction.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, so when I first started writing, I was trying to figure out like what genre I fit into, and then how to describe it in a public forum, especially because there are a lot of children who watch YouTube videos. And so now every time I talk about adult things, the characters are adulting. So yeah, so it's been fun.
We won Nano. I think everyone involved in the stream last night won Nano. Yeah. So we all did okay. That was a question from the chat. Okay, if by any chance you're new to my channel, I'm Alina. I'm a fiction writer. I write a lot of stuff. I write urban fantasy, paranormal romance, some sci-fi. Huge chunk of this is LGBT fiction or LGBT romance, depending on how I feel. about how much I should torture my characters. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Because it's the first day after Nano, and because we were all on a stream just hours earlier, we're going to take it kind of slower today. We're going to start sprinting at 20 past so that we can have some time to chat, and we're going to do 20-minute sprints with 10-minute breaks. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
What are you working on today?
Well, I am going to work on my small project, and then I have to finish editing a eulogy that I am writing.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be No, actually, it's kind of weird because I have been working on this for several days now, and like I dreaded working on it because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like crying, and then I'm going to be like laughing and everything. And it's been such a fascinating like history. It's honestly, I've been more excited about this than I was about my Nano project, because I'm like, I start sifting through paperwork and I'm like, no way.
Yeah, it's super fascinating sometimes. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Aris, I wish I didn't have like all your fur directly on my black sweater. That would be great. Yeah, I'm wearing all black now, so there's bits of Aris everywhere.
Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, if you have an Arctic breed, you have to learn to wear them with pride, because
pretty much it's like,
oh yeah, you walk through the front door and it's like clings to you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he's started changing his fur for like winter kind of late. Yeah. Because it was warm until late in November, I think. So he's doing that now. And because I had my issue with my leg and I couldn't like brush him properly, my mom tries, but when she does it, he runs away. He wouldn't stay there. Right. So he's shedding a bit more than usual. It's fun. It's okay. Well, it's normal. Well, it's all great.
I was grooming so much. I would spend about 2 hours on each one of my Malamutes. And by the end of the 2 hours, between my back and my wrists, I was in a really bad shape. And so my neighbor's a groomer, and he has this like blower. It's like a fur blower. And he brought it over and he started blowing my mouths, and the fur just lifts up. And I was like, I can't remember what he said the machine was called, but I was like, I have to get me one of those, because it was half the time and there was no like raking involved. So it's really cool.
Yeah, there are quite a few devices that will make my life easier, probably. And I'm going to invest in those. And I would have loved to take him somewhere where they just groom him, but there's nothing close enough to, make it easier on me, because I can't drive for very long distances. They're going to, they do cut hair and stuff like that, but just, brushing the fur off, not the service I could find yet.
Yeah,
I'm still looking into it for situations like this where I just can't deal with it, because I physically can't.
Well, my mom, she
just won't sit for my mom. Like, no.
Yeah. Have your mom, maybe if she holds like a meatball or something in one hand while she brushes the other, he'll sit still for her.
No, if it's his food, he'd go insane until he gets the food. He's the type of dog that obeys when he has to, and he knows he can't really get away with stuff with me, so he just deals with it. But if it's other people that he can trick into just running away and not doing what he wants to, what he doesn't want to do, he'll do that. It's fine. But I like him because he has a lot of personality, and it's fun. It's cool. It's okay. We're managing, but it's just that I have a lot of white on my black everything.
It's
yeah, it's a fashion
accent.
choice.
That's right. That's right. Oh, funny. Well, my mom took my sister's Malamute into a groomer, and she told the groomer, she said, just blow his coat and we'll be done with it. And but she went to go pick him up, and his head was all fluffy, and they shaved his body, and then he had these weird, like, fluffy sock. Look, he looked like
He's not a dog show. Dog show poodle, because that's the only breed that has those types of do's.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I would have had words with everyone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I got to my mom's house, I looked at him and I was like, what did they do to this dog? Oh, he looks so stupid. I mean, there's just no other way. No other way to describe him. Oh, how funny.
Yeah. Just address something in the comments. First of all, literally, I'm perfect. Welcome. And second, like I said, congratulations, first of all. And don't worry about not winning. If this was the best you've ever done in a month, that's definitely a win. On my first Nano, I think I got like 16 to 17,000 words. This was back in 2011, I think. And it had been my best month ever. And the first time I actually tried to build a habit out of writing, and I kept building on that. It took me like a couple more years to finally win Nano, so it's all good. Also, if you want to try again, I'm doing Nano every month because that's just my life. So you can do that.
Oh yeah. Well, and like I was saying, you have to constantly be in the mindset that this was fun. Nano was a fun way to meet people and to work on your project and to really focus on building like a routine and everything.
Yep.
And the little video that they send you, it even says, you know, if you have more written on the 30th than you did on the 1st, you're also a Nano winner. So
you're a winner, definitely.
I wish like at the end of Nano, everyone who participated got that video that they show to the 50K people. Because it really helped me put things into perspective. Like, you know, even if I didn't win according to the rules, I still won because I had more written and my book was closer to the end. So
yeah, I agree with that.
So congratulations for just trying to win Nano.
That's a big win as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
Because you just took the time to do that. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely into that. Yeah, I forgot to say what I'm working on. I'm like last night I finished my edits from my editor for the first book in the Just Don't series. I actually emailed her back last night. Well, this morning. And now I'm doing my own edits on the second book, which I should be done with by the end of day tomorrow. So I can send it to her and have it back in time for the release, because I'm doing a rapid release with these, so I can't push them back.
Yeah.
Then it just defeats the idea of a rapid release.
Yeah.
But yeah, the plan is to have all 4 books released by the end of January.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. There will be one on Monday. The second one will be like 8 days after. The third one will be 2 weeks after, and then in another month, the 4th one.
Right on. Yeah. Wow. That is very ambitious.
Yeah. Rapid releases are great. Maybe they're even fun for people when they're not in such a tight deadline as I am. But to be fair, that's all on me and my lack of energy to do more. Like I did a lot this month. I had about 63,000 words written. I know my Nano shows more. The counter is kind of screwed from when I validated my document. I don't know. And after I validated it, I was just like, I'm not gonna go through this to see what chapter I forgot to exclude. Like,
Right.
I don't care. For 3,000 words, I really don't care.
Right.
So my total was 63. At the end of the month, I set a goal for like 100K.
Okay.
I knew I couldn't get it, but I was like, anything I get past 50%, and now I'm at 63%, it would be a win. And I've also done all the edits for book 1. And because I'm an idiot, I also started doing covers for myself in November and learning that.
I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you if you were actually doing your own covers, because that I think would be fun, but at the same time, I don't know. It kind of scares me.
Yeah, it's the first time I'm doing it, and I've been publishing for like 4 years now. So I did take a lot of time to learn about cover requirements for certain genres, and I kind of know what I like and what I need to keep track of. I did have help with this because my boyfriend helped me learn stuff faster and learn to do things I needed, and pretty much learn where to search for things, because you can find a tutorial for everything. The point is to find a good tutorial and then apply.
Right on.
So I wanted to do 4 covers this month. I completed 2 this month, last month, because it's already December. But again, it was a circumstantial thing. The moment the cold hit, my legs started to act up. So I spent a lot more time laying in bed than waiting for the pain to go away. And my boyfriend got sick.
Oh,
again.
No.
So I lacked the companion who was helping me speed things along. And in a way, that was a good thing, because on the second cover, I kind of did most of it on my own. And I enjoyed that. But it takes a lot of time to learn everything and figure out how to do stuff. I'm sure the more you work on covers, the more you learn, the easier it becomes. But you kind of have to love it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to enjoy it, because it takes time and it's kind of difficult. So, I mean...
When I was working on the cover for The Awakening, I was getting frustrated just looking through all of the pictures. So I looked through all the background pictures until I found the one that I wanted for the background. And then I started looking through all of the people pictures. And by like hour 2, I was like, I am just so done. So I sent the cover designer. I was like, look, this is what I want. Find it, put it together, send it back to me. Let me see what it comes out. And he really did. The man that designed my cover, he's with Calligraphics, and he did an amazing job. It was very fast. It was less than, I want to say he took less than 24 hours after I had picked out all the pictures and everything. But just on my small contribution to the cover, I was like, there's no way I could do like cover design for all of my books, because I'd end up smashing the computer and being like, I hate Photoshop.
Yeah, it can be a bit frustrating, and searching for the right model and the right photos for things can be the most difficult thing ever, which is why I hope at some point I'll be able to design my own characters. Not sure I'll ever be at that level, but you know, if I can do them for like the cozies and the mysteries, that will help. And in the meantime, I'm building my skills so that I can get one body and one head and merge them together without it seeming like a Frankenstein sort of job.
Right.
And that's fine. Because I tend to create characters that don't exist in stock photo sites because of reasons. And the thing is, the designer I worked with is actually a close friend of mine. Her name is Alina as well. And we worked really well. And she did her best to accommodate my insane schedule. Right now, her schedule is kind of messed up a lot. And also, I was trying to streamline stuff. And if I can learn to do things and reduce costs, I'd rather invest that money in other stuff that have to do with promoting the books and things like that. Anup, you can open a Google Doc document or Word and write them there. And if you want somewhere to share them, try Wattpad. That always works, or any other writing community.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it was kind of, it's something that I decided to do just because I got more into the drawing and the art aspect, and I just wanted to try to see if I can. And then it kind of happened at the right time when she was super busy, and I was coming after a period where I couldn't work, so I needed a lot of them done fast. So this was the best solution for now. Plus, I'm so used to working with her. She knows what I want. I know what she needs from me. That I didn't want to go through the process of vetting other cover artists.
Right.
Because I'm kind of particular. I want someone who's open enough to listen to me and what I need for the cover to sell, not just look good. Because there are a lot of beautiful covers out there, which I don't think they match the genre necessarily.
Right.
And unless you're super big, that will impact your sales. That's the truth of it. So, you know.
Oh yeah. That's what I loved about the guy that did my cover. He's really open. He wants to know he wants to pull out as much from here as he possibly can so that he makes, because he's retired, and so this is how he makes his living, is through cover design and book formatting and everything. And so I was lucky though, because I've talked to other indie authors who have gotten some cover design artists that are just terrible, and they're like, oh yeah, here's my book cover, and I'm not like, I'm in no way whatsoever am I a professional judge of book covers or anything, but there have been several that have been released, and I'm just like, what happened here? Because you really do. I mean, I know there's that saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but people judge everything by its cover. So,
well, first of all, that's a wrong thing to consider right now, because if you're talking about ebooks and specifically Amazon, the first thing people see is a tiny thumbnail of your cover. So not only does your cover need to be really good and genre specific so that people can get a lot of information from just 10 seconds of a glimpse, the thumbnail has to be good enough to communicate all that. Because sometimes that's all you get, a small thumbnail on a search page or on a recommended page, or also bots or sponsored products.
Right.
So the cover is the first thing people see. A lot of people will buy just based on the cover without even reading your blurb. Your blurb is important, it should be there, but just an FYI, people will ignore it. And they will judge it based on the cover. And if you sell something through the cover and you don't deliver that, that's when you have some really weird reviews, and you're like, people, didn't you read my blurb? And the answer is no, probably not.
Yep. Oh yeah. So it's always, I think being self-published, and especially when you publish through Amazon, it's an interesting adventure, and you're constantly having to like juggle a lot of different hats. And so I'm always like searching through. So because I do adult romance, I'll actually search through like adult erotica book covers, just because even if my book doesn't necessarily fall into the erotic genre, some of those book covers are very appealing and very much, you know, eye-catching. So I find myself looking through all kinds of book covers just because it's important. It's important to make sure that you have the perfect book cover, because you're absolutely right. You get a glimpse. Your entire book is based on a like 1-inch glimpse. So, So
no, that's quite true. And the thing is that you have to consider your genre and the covers for your genre and draw inspirations from others. But again, you kind of have to match the genre you're trying to sell.
Oh yeah.
Because readers, I mean, we blame readers for not reading blurbs, but the thing is, we and Amazon trains them to recognize a the genre and the type of book based on the cover.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And
Yep.
then you have to work with that, which I do understand. I do understand graphic designers as well, because that can be a bit limiting to their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's the challenge of doing book covers. Because I've seen brilliant book covers, absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
They had nothing to do with the genre they were selling, though.
Right.
I was like, this doesn't look like this. And I've seen, like, I've recently seen book covers that are supposed to sell, I don't know, YA fantasy, and they look like a YA thriller, which to me is really bad.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But again, that's just my personal opinion. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because we went a little longer with our conversation, we're going to start the first sprint in 3 minutes at past. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then hopefully I'll edit faster than I edited last night, because I did really well on the edit from my editor. And then when I started editing the manuscript, I was like, I'm going to go really slowly because I'm tired by now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I've tried writing when I'm really tired. And then they gave me, so when I got my spinal cord injury, they put me on this medication that, like, I can take it, and once I take it, I have to check out completely. So usually I'll take it, and about half an hour later, I go to bed. But I'll wake up in the morning, like in the middle of the night sometimes, still a little, I call it drunk, and I'll sit down to write, and then I'll go back to edit what I wrote when I was in the middle of the night. And I'm like, what does that say? It's like, so now I'm like, okay, I'm only going to write when I'm alert.
It depends. Like when I'm writing, even if I'm tired, I can get into a flow.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily impact my productivity.
Right.
Because the stream before this one, when I was writing, I got like 4,000 words in 2 hours, which was great. Editing is not the same. Like I need to be a lot more awake for editing. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't know, but that's the case. And I mean, I did rewrite most of the first chapter. Maybe that was why I went so slowly. And that usually happens a lot of times, especially when it's a sequel. I draft it, and then the thing I change the most is the first chapter.
Yeah. Oh,
That's what gets the heavy edit. But I want to do it okay. I want to do my best to complete it in as much depth as it needs, because I would like my editor to tell me again, oh, this was such a light edit. It's great. Because that always like boosts my confidence. If there are lots of edits that come from her, I always go like, oh my God, I'm the worst author in the world, which is bullshit, of course.
Right.
And that's just until I actually start going through the edit, because then I'm like, this is not that bad. It's not that much. I mean, what am I doing worse?
Oh yeah, that's how I'm hoping that it's gonna go for me. But I'm gonna think I have a mountain of edits, and it's like just a hill.
1 second. I hope it's working now and you can hear me. And I'm not sure which one of us you were talking to. I just restarted my mic and camera, so it should be okay, I think.
Yeah, you're a lot clearer now.
Okay. Yeah, I have my mic on my camera. It's a really good mic for this webcam, but sometimes it acts up. I don't know why, but it happens. Okay, it's 30 past. Let's go and start working for 20 minutes.
Sounds like a plan.
Break time. How did everyone do?
Well, I fixed a lot of errors in my eulogy.
Nice. I got close to 2 chapters, so.
Awesome.
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah. And I'm struggling, like, it's kind of strange how I'm writing it, because sometimes I refer to the individual by their proper name, and then I refer to the individual by like the name that their like nickname, and it kind of flip-flops. And so I have to decide whether I'm gonna just use their proper name or if I'm gonna use the name given to them.
Yeah.
Because I definitely don't want people in the crowd getting confused as to who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, maybe you can use the proper name in the beginning, explain that this is a nickname, and then switch to the nickname for the rest of it.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing.
Nice going, Deal. 315 is a really good number. Autumn, I don't know what to say. I don't use a microphone for dictation because, I mean, I used to use the one on my headphones, which is a pretty good mic, but I learned really quickly that I do better if I just speak into my phone and record myself and not stay at the computer. So I just use the mic on the phone, and it's fine. I have an app which I did get the full version, so not the free version, and it automatically transfers my recording to Google Drive, which I can access and download onto my computer. So then it makes it really easy to transcribe using Dragon. But yeah, I'd suggest trying a lapel mic if you want one. They're cheap enough and pretty good. I have one that I use to record my videos, and whenever I use that, the sound is way, way better than the normal mic, even on this camera. So, did you ever do dictation, by the way?
Me? No, I have a I don't want to say aversion. I have a really hard time actually speaking the thoughts that I put in my books. And I think it's strange. I think it's strange that I can say the thoughts that I'm thinking, but then I start giggling and it's just a total wreck. So because I just need to stay focused, I don't do any kind of dictation.
Yeah, no, that I totally understand that. When I started doing dictation, I started the worst way possible, which was sitting in front of my computer with Word open and just dictating. And I could never get into a flow because I kept waiting to see the words on the document as it happens when you type them, which is not what happens with dictation. So because of that, I was super slow, and I always stopped to correct everything as I was dictating, which again, it's not the best idea ever. But after that, when I started dictating to my phone, it does take a lot of adjusting and adapting to this way of doing things. But when I actually do it, it helps, because when I transcribe, I also do like a light edit on it. So I find that at the end, when I'm finished with the draft, it takes less time for me to go through it and edit it.
Right. Well, and I've heard that. Oh, go ahead.
Plus, you know, when I invest enough time in it, I get a lot faster. So I can get a lot more done in an hour with dictation than with typing, especially if I factor in the editing part as well.
Right.
All the cleanup I do. But yeah, I still do it very, very rarely.
Yeah. I was told that when you dictate, though, in a Word, like if you have your document open and everything, you have to still tell it when a period, a comma. And that part to me was foreign, because, you know, when we're talking to one another, we don't say, "Hi, my name's Dana," period. You know?
Yeah, I know. I know, but that bit you get used to quite fast. And the trick I learned was to skip the quotation marks. Never say quotation marks. I just go with comma, exclamation mark, or period, and new line for a new paragraph. I never say quotation mark or open quote, and quote. I never say that. And because I don't say that, and I just add them when I read through it, I gain a lot of time.
Yeah.
And Claire told me this. She heard about it from another author. And when she told me, I was like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. Because open quote and quote every 10 words takes a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, that was awesome. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. We'll have to try it. And I've been considering trying it, like during the regular parts of my books, and then during the adulting parts of my books, typing it out, because those are the scenes that it's awkward for me to speak them out, you know, especially like in my office on the other side of the door. It's not a soundproof office, so if I were to be speaking those things and then someone on the other side of the door is like, Mom, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I have to say that no one around me understands me, because I'm dictating in English. Most of them don't speak it. So even if they do speak it, they don't speak it at the level needed to dictate an entire sex scene.
Right.
So, you know, that's fine. I don't mind that. But yeah, I totally get how it can be a bit awkward. But yeah, I'm the one thing I learned is not to try to start and learn and use dictation when you have a deadline. That's the worst thing you can do. It will get frustrating fast.
Oh yeah.
I did try that before and then give up on it. But I do, once I catch up a bit and I'm not so behind with everything, I do plan to work dictation into my routine again and start with like 10 minutes per day and then just keep going from there.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to learn. So I was waiting to get the Scrivener app until after NaNoWriMo, because I love discounts. I'm like, oh, if I can get a 20% or greater discount, I'm a winner.
I think it's a 50% discount for Scrivener, right?
Yes, yeah. And so
best investment I made last year.
Oh yeah, well, out of all of the prizes they have for winning Nano, that I think the Scrivener one is definitely the best one.
No, I love it. I love it a lot, but I use it in a very limited way. I know it has a lot more features, but I just use the bits that work for me the best, and that's great.
Yeah, that's why I want to use this smaller project that I'm working on while we're editing my larger project to kind of master the Scrivener. because in October I thought, oh well, I'll use October to figure out how to use Scrivener, and then I'll use Scrivener during NaNoWriMo. And honestly, I think if I was trying to learn Scrivener during NaNoWriMo, I would have probably just, I don't know, quit and found a rock to live under for a month. So
it took me, I mean, I did ask Claire some things, I think, while I was doing it, but I think it took me like about a week to figure out how I wanted to use it.
Right.
It wasn't that difficult, so I liked that bit. But again, I use very limited stuff from it. I just found something that works for me, and that's great. And I prefer it to Word a lot for drafting. I do my drafting in it. I do my first round of edits, and then I export it, get it through the read aloud function in Word once, and then send it to my editor.
Right on.
That's how I go about it. Because with my editor, we work in Word because of all the review things that she does, and it's the easiest way.
Yeah.
And then I also typically format it before I send it to her. So then when I get it back, I only have to do another final proof and just upload it to Juto and get the ebook done. That's it.
So you pretty much have it formatted and like the first edit done before you send it to your editor. Is that fair? Yeah.
Yeah, I first edit it, and then I proof it once, and then I also format it, because I usually run late. So formatting takes like an hour or two. Right. So I can do it before sending it, and then when I'm finished with my editor, I don't have to worry about anything else. I can just format the book and publish it, which is great. Because I'm always running late. Okay, we need to start another sprint, people. So I'm going to start it now and see you all with a lot of words done or edited in 20 minutes.
All right.
break time.
Is that the progress
the crazy
app?
Yep.
Yeah. I downloaded it. I'm still haven't used it yet though, because I'm like, man, it's gonna put so much pressure on me.
It does put a little, but as I'm a professional procrastinator, it helps me a lot.
Yeah.
And I got again close to 2 chapters. Not great, but it's okay.
Right on. Yeah, I did some research on the ball turret gunners of World War II, so that was
nice.
Yeah, that was interesting. So
I would like to point out that I'm still struggling with that bit of wine, and I've been struggling with it for over an hour.
Yeah. You know what? I had a brand new cup of coffee, and I think I left it in the kitchen.
Which is great.
I know. It's going to benefit me a lot there.
Yep. Can you get a drink slave like Christine has from Simply Nailogical?
Yes, I can. She's a little bit camera shy because she is 13.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yesterday, I think there was a couple of times where she came in and brought me cookies.
Yeah, I've seen her when she came with the cookies.
Yeah.
Last night. Well,
and yeah. I was actually really surprised because I went to stop the video stream and she was like, "No, it's okay, Mom." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's in that awkward like teenage girl phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I remember that I went from that to awkward adult phase.
Yeah. Well, she keeps asking me. She's like, "Oh, Mom, were you popular when you were in high school?" And I was like, "No." I mean, I knew people and I hung out with all the different groups and everything, but I was like the nice girl that got along with everybody but really didn't care about the cliques, Yeah. And I told her, I was like, your life will be so much fuller if you can just blend with any group of people and become friends with everyone versus having just your clique. And
yeah, no, totally agree with that.
Have you ever used Grammarly?
Yes. I still use it for emails and stuff. Other than that, it's pissing me off.
Oh, really?
I used to use it in Word, but it would often disconnect from the server.
Mm-hmm.
And when it did that, it forgot I'd gone through things and either changed them or asked it to ignore them. So, yeah, it was pretty annoying. I had another one, I forget the name, which I liked a lot more. It was a software that you paid once, but then I didn't end up getting it because it was kind of expensive for what it did. Right. I mean, it didn't do a lot more than clean up stuff that I could clean up through a thorough proofread. Because when you hear someone read back whatever you've written, you catch on a lot of things, including repetitions and things like that that program was really good at finding.
Right.
So, but if I were to invest in a software like that, it wouldn't be Grammarly because that pissed me off. I mean,
yeah,
if you disconnect from the server, and it was for me, and my internet is pretty good,
right.
Then you're just making a lot more work for me than I need.
Right. Have you ever like I don't use it while I'm actually in the Word program because and then what frustrates me is it's constantly like having those little comment bubbles when you have it actively working.
Oh yeah, I know. No, I only used it when I was done, but
yeah, and then I upload it to it. But the one thing I do like about it is when it's like, hey, because I have a really bad habit of going from active voice to passive voice, and so I like the fact that it catches those types of errors, and then it'll give me suggestions on like. So I really like that. I like the suggestions it gives me. The one thing I don't like, though, is especially when it's passive voice, instead of giving you an example of how you could change it, it's just like, it's passive, fix it.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not passive. Like if you have Parker was running somewhere, it's going to sometimes see that as passive.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yep. And that was the other thing. Like, it would tell me, no, this is passive, and I would read it and I'd be like, well, it has to be that way, otherwise it's not going to make sense.
Yeah. It does help. It made me, this and the other software, which I enjoyed more, they made me aware of all the passive voice instances that I could change to active. And now it's something that I look for myself.
Right.
It's something that I keep in mind when I draft. So that was helpful. But now I still use Grammarly for emails and stuff like that. When I go really fast, and it helps if I have something to point out my typos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I am, people, like when I tell people that I'm a writer, they're like, oh, can you edit this for me? I'm like, no. I'm a writer, not an editor. Okay.
Yeah. No, I would never offer to edit things for other people. I'm better at catching stuff for other people, but I don't think I would do a good enough job. I can do a beta read, and if I find typos or stuff like that, I would tell people, but I'm not an editor. I really am not.
Yeah, I beta read for one particular author thus far, and I think because I have like a relationship with her, it's easier for me to tell her, hey, these are the errors that I found. And it's because she's open and she understands that I'm not trying to be, sabotage her in any way. But I think that
it's like, difficult.
Yeah, when you have other people that you don't really know and you're beta reading for them, and you say, hey, like this is why I'm very particular about who I beta read for, because I have in the past been like, hey, you might want to check this particular paragraph or whatever, and I've gotten like nasty emails about how I'm not a professional editor, and it's like, okay, I'm just trying to help.
You ask for my opinion. Like, if you don't want it, don't ask for it. The thing that I'm wary of is, especially when I hear people saying like, reviews are not for authors, and they act as if any constructive criticism or any criticism at all, it's negativity and hate.
Yes.
And that bothers me a lot, especially when it's self-published authors. When you're a self-published author, you have nothing between you and the readers.
Yes.
You talk directly to them. If you don't care about their reviews, it's like you're ignoring market data.
Yeah, and I think
it's so stupid.
And like, especially constructive reviews that say, hey, here are some of the edits, or here's some of the mistakes that I found, or this is how you can maybe improve, make it better. Yeah, it strengthens you as an artist. And when people, the number one thing that I hate to hear is writing is subjective. It's subjective. Okay, that's obvious. It is subjective. Not every genre is for every single person. However, when you have multiple people telling you, hey, you could make this better if you did this, and you refuse to hear that as constructive criticism, then you're now limiting yourself. Because it's like, well, if you are only writing for yourself, that's great. But if you're writing for an audience and you're hoping this audience is eventually going to help you pay for your publishing costs and maybe your electric bill or whatever the case is, you need to be open to those reviews. I mean, that's basically what a review is. It's constructive criticism. So,
and I know you have to be extra nice when providing feedback that's not the most positive. I'm not like that. I don't care. Like, I have no problem if my editor marks a paragraph and says this is lazy writing because this and that. Because it is lazy writing, and I don't need her to, hold my hand and waste her editing time to write long, complicated emails about how great I am, but I need to correct some stuff. No, tell me when something's wrong, when it's not necessary, when I need to cut it. Just tell me. And I've always been like that.
Exactly.
But not everyone is. And if it's not something that's like, I love this book to death, but there's one tiny thing I didn't like. So if you don't phrase it like that, everything is negativity and hate. And I'm like, no,
exactly.
That's not how this works. It's really not how things work. So yeah, it happens still. I've seen it happen a lot of times, and it's why I'm really picky. I don't usually beta read because I take too long to read them. But the people I do beta read for, they're well chosen, so that they know what they're getting into. Okay, let's do the final sprint of the night. Well, evening, morning for the rest of the world. It's fine. Let's write and edit for 20 minutes.
Awesome. Oh. Oh, are you leaving? I love you.
Me too. Keep an eye on that for school.
I will. I'll see you tonight. shadows, okay? Hold on just a second.
Break time.
Awesome.
I got almost 2 chapters again. So I've got almost 6 for the entire session.
That's great. How long, how many chapters total do you plan on for each book that you release?
It depends on the book. This is a novella series and there are all about 20K.
Okay.
The first one was exactly 20K. This one is 23K now. And I kept the chapters short.
Mm-hmm.
So for 20K, I have 18 chapters.
Okay.
Because I wanted it to be snappy. So 1,300 words per chapter, which is good. And now I'm at chapter 7, which means almost midway through. So
okay,
it's going okay.
Right.
I'm trying to do that for most of my writing. The only book that has slightly longer chapters, but I still kept them at about 2,000 words, is The Witch Book, which is urban fantasy. But I'm trying for the romance and the mystery to keep them short, kind of like binge reading worthy. Right. And it's rewarding for the readers, and it's really, really rewarding for me because I can get the chapter done and feel accomplished.
Right.
You know, other than stopping in the middle and then feeling like, oh, I got some words done, but, you know, I haven't finished anything. And it works on me, too, because I write one and then I write another, and I don't feel like I've written a lot because they're short. Right. Same for editing. So it tricks me into working more as well.
Right.
Which is cool.
That's what my goal for 2019. So I've been working on the Awakening series for 2 years. It started off as a standalone and it just grew into this mammoth world and with this huge story and everything. And so for 2019, my goal is to be able to publish shorter novels that people can kind of binge read. So that while I'm working on the mammoth project, they'll have little short stories written. And I think it's important for especially self-published authors that they have little shorter fun books that they can read between their big massive projects. And you actually inspired me to come up with this goal because when I was looking at your novels and everything, I was like, wow, how do you do this? But it's because it's the shorter and you really challenge yourself. And so
I mean, some of them just don't work as really long novels. I have 60 to 70,000 word novels.
Yes.
And I've released one this year, but the Just Don't series, these are my shortest ever. Because I wanted to be 20K and over, and I knew I was going to keep it like serial format. So the next book always picks up where the other one left. Right. And I knew I was going to do a rapid release, so they'd get 4 books in the span of 2 months, which is great. But I do plan on doing that for longer projects as well. But yeah, typically I don't write. I didn't publish anything that was shorter than 30, 35K, 40K, 50K, 60K. Because I always go like, oh, this will be 30K and then end up with 40 because I tend to go over word count. I think the only one I didn't go much over word count was the first Just Don't book. On the second one, I'm already 3,000 words over word count, and I've not finished editing because I usually add a bit more in editing, so it's fine.
Right.
But I like this format. I like it to be snappy and connected, but I feel like if I do this, it's important to release the books fast, one after the other, and not keep people waiting. But I feel like that's good for any series. So maybe not as fast as 4 books in 2 months, maybe 4 books in 3 months. But I'm planning on doing the same thing with the gay mystery series, the Owl Investigation books. And those are like 45 to 50K per book. So
yeah, that's ambitious for sure.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, if I get my drafting under control.
Yeah.
And I keep going as I did this month and maybe do a bit better. It's doable because I can just draft a bunch of stuff and then release them.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping that I'll be able. So my goal for myself is going to be one short story like every 2 months. And I'm hoping that if that's
Wait. What do you mean by short story? Because a short story is under 15,000 words.
Okay. Well,
or novella.
It's more of a novella. Yeah.
Okay. So novella. Okay.
Because I'm already past 15,000 words and I've only got like 1 or 2 chapters written. So yeah, it would definitely be a novella. So I figure if I can do 1 novella every 2 months, and then maybe as I pick up speed and get used to it, I'll be able to do like 1 a month, but that's further into the future. I just mostly wanted to challenge myself. I definitely needed to challenge myself to produce more work in a shorter amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. My plan is to do these books, which are kind of fast to draft and edit, and they're fun, and I really am into the story. And then do the all investigation books, and then while those are publishing, because I can spread them out more, work on a different series, and again release in bulk. I also have a completed manuscript from last year, which I'm still hanging on to because the cover is problematic. It's a medieval sort of alternate universe story, and I need a certain look for the main character, and I can't find it. I can't find him anywhere. So I either go more symbolic, which doesn't really go well with how big on the romance side it is, or I learn to stick up heads on other bodies, which is kind of challenging. So it will have to wait, but that's completely finished, and it's a 50K book. So
yeah. Oh wow. So where did you get the inspiration to do a like a LGBT series or romance?
I started with my urban fantasy series with the vampire series, and while I was working on that, I started connecting with a lot of authors, and some of them wrote LGBT fiction, and I started reading it, and I really connected with it. I've always found it easier to write male perspectives because my women are kind of atypical and a bit of a tomboy.
Right.
But still feminine. I don't know how to. I didn't write romance. I wrote urban fantasy. It's because I didn't really connect with the tropes and the type of heroines that you see in romance. And the type of female characters I wrote to were better for more action-packed, more dramatic stories.
Right.
But I really enjoyed writing LGBT fiction, and particularly male couples. Okay. Because I could get into the romance, but still keep it more, I don't know, on the action sort of, write some paranormal romance or some sci-fi, and I felt like the LGBT romance readers were more open to more experimental stuff. They weren't like super strict with their requirements, so I could write a series like Famous on the Internet, where on the first book I wrote in that series, I had a very weird structure. I first had a blog post, then an email exchange, then a chapter, and it went like that through the book.
Oh wow! Right on. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that was my first bestseller.
Oh wow, that's really, I mean, yeah, that's incredible.
That was back in the day where all romance existed. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I really like that. I mean, it's just, plus I always thought I should do more because Romania is not that progressive yet when it comes to gay rights. And it kind of helped with my past history because I was in a position in high school where a friend of mine was gay, and everyone would come to me and say, "Oh, you should take care with a lesbian girl because she might jump you or something." Shitty things like that. By the way, I have to say this just to not make my friends from high school look that bad. We were like 14 or 15, and I think they made being gay legal a few years back. So it was a thing that had to do with culture and how we were educated. I didn't care, but I still felt at the time that I didn't do enough, or I didn't know how to approach it.
Right.
So writing these stories and discussing these issues, it feels like I'm kind of doing my part. Of course, I did other things before this. When I had my PR company, I used to volunteer my services to the local NGO that deals with LGBT rights and things like that. So it wasn't the first thing I did, but I felt like this could have a strong impact.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anything that you can do to bring light to, you know, social issues is great. And it's the same thing. I've noticed even in the United States, it's the same thing. There are rural communities where they just don't get it. And that's what I grew up in, a very small rural community. And I grew up in a household where, you know, you loved everybody and everybody was equal and it didn't matter what they did. But I also had friends in high school that were just kind of like, oh, how can you hang out with this person? You know, aren't you afraid? It's like, no, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Like, what does it matter? I mean, like, if you like the person, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. They're human beings then. And
it's not like, I mean, attraction doesn't work like that. I don't know what this baffles people. I'm straight. It doesn't mean I want every man, well, mostly straight. Let's not. But okay, I prefer men, let's say. That's the most accurate thing. When it comes to relationships, I prefer men. It's just how I'm built. It doesn't mean that any guy I see, I want to bang. It doesn't work like that. Also, I find some females attractive. That doesn't mean I jump any that I found attractive. It's not how attraction works. And again, a gay guy, he won't find everyone attractive just because they have something between their legs. This is not how it works.
I know. And it is unfortunately it's the simple-minded people, but it's one of the things that I think is really interesting is there's so many people I've met who are simple-minded and they're very stuck in how they were raised or what they think. Yeah. And then once they experience with an open mind this lifestyle and these cultures of these, you know, these individuals, it's like, oh, well, it's complete awakening. They're like, holy cow, you know, I've been.
And it's the difficult part that hit them the most, like what certain people have to go through for the most basic and normal of interactions with someone they love.
Yeah.
I feel like that has a huge impact on people.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because I remember going at this conference for the LGBT authors and readers. It was I think it was the first one in Munich or the second one in Berlin. I don't know. It's called Europe Pride Con. But there was a guy, his name is Andrew Gray. He's pretty popular as a gay romance author. And he was talking about how views changed in the US and how we got to a point where people were okay with gay marriage being legal everywhere. And he said that gay romance had a huge impact because a lot of female readers preferred romance and they were open to try gay romance. And it was an easy way to reach them with very real and sometimes very sad stories.
Yeah.
Even if they had a happy ending, you still went to the angst and pain of the situation. So that kind of conveyed the message, and part of it was that it's unnecessarily difficult. Part of it was that it's just love, nothing wrong or unnatural about it. Yeah. And that helped to change perspectives. Of course, it took like a decade or more, but it helps. Art will always help.
Absolutely.
Art. And I don't care if it's super commercial, like genre fiction, which is commercial. Let's face it. There's a heavy emphasis on entertainment in any genre fiction.
Right.
I mean, sci-fi, fantasy, all of this has to be entertaining. It can be more than that. It can be inspired, and it can educate, and it can convey important messages. But that's the whole point of genre fiction. It's that it's not literary fiction.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of the things when I was doing research for my novel, and I started talking to people who actually lived this lifestyle that I was writing about, because I wanted to make sure that I was educated and that I was doing the best not to paint this particular lifestyle in a negative way. You know, I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about, even though it's a fiction story. And I met some of the most incredible people that I would have never normally, if I didn't put myself out there and start picking their brains and interviewing them and everything. And one of the things that I struggled with was writing a romantic relationship between two men. And so once I started talking to some of the people that were willing to interview me and be patient with my kind of ignorant, because I didn't really understand the whole dynamics of it. And that's honestly what really opened my eyes to love is love.
Yeah.
Sex is completely separate from love and a relationship and that commitment. And so I know for me, even though I grew up in a very open-minded family and I looked at everybody as they're the same, they're equal, we're all human beings, and that's the end of it. Sitting down and actually talking to two men in a relationship, it mirrors my relationship with my husband, the commitment, the trust, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And that's when I realized that through my writing, even though I'm not writing a social justice novel, I'm writing a romance book, but through my romantic writings, I can actually bring light into the fact that human beings, regardless of who they love, it's all love, it's all commitment, it's all trust, it's all, and that to me, it was, I don't know, I guess that revelation was like mind-blowing, if you will.
Yeah. My opinion is kind of controversial, but I think books in general can delve into heavier topics without being preachy. I hate it when books get preachy. It's because I feel like people treat other people like they don't know enough and they need to be educated, and that's not your purpose with a fiction book. Right. I don't like that. I just don't. I think it's just too much. So I think you can be subtle and impactful without being preachy, and that's where I try to be.
Yes, exactly.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, there is a lot more that unites us and makes us the same than the differences. I know people don't like to think about it because we all need to think that we're special and different. Differences are minor, like on a worldwide level between the 7 billion of us. There's a lot more that we have in common than the differences.
Right. Yeah.
Even when you think of appearance, there are a lot of people that look like the exact same. Or similar. They look like they could be related. So I'm sorry, we're not that special.
Exactly.
I don't think that's something bad. I think that's something if we embraced and treated other people like, just someone like me and who's a lot like me, things would advance without the whole pushing of preachiness and extremes, I guess.
Yeah.
That's at least how I look at it. I mean, I try to remember at the end of the day that I'm not here to sit on a pedestal and talk down to my readers. Right. Because generally readers are a lot more smart than people give credit for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've noticed that. I think
a lot smarter. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think hey, we're writers, we're not editors, okay? No.
Right.
But I've noticed that people who enjoy reading are legitimately the people who are more open-minded, and you know, they are more intellectual, and they are more I don't want to say that they're like more superior, but they are more creative, and they're definitely a more open group of individuals. So yeah, and that's what I was going for. Like, it was important for me to be able to write about these relationships without being preachy, because you know, in my book, it's like all these different cultures, and the main character she has to learn about these cultures, and she has to learn about these people, because eventually she's going to need their help. And so and that's why it was important to me to make sure that I had as much information as I possibly could to convey the beauty of all. Even though we're all individuals, we all are pretty much one, you know? So yeah, so that was really cool. That's why I was curious where you, what inspired you.
Yeah, I think it just meshed well. To be honest, before this, when I created the universe for my urban fantasy, the protagonist's best friend, well, the best friend she makes along the way, is actually bisexual, and that was just how it worked out.
Right.
It wasn't something I planned. Just when I created the character, it made sense she'd be bisexual, and so it's not just the LGBT fiction that I treat in a certain way. I try whenever I create a book to make sure I cover all my bases and try to portray the real world. And the real world is a place where not everyone is straight or white. But that said, if you set a story in my hometown and you want everything represented, you have to set it in a very specific time, which is the present. Because in the past, the truth of it was that the only black high school student in the entire city was a friend of mine, and he was literally the only one.
The
only one.
Because, and then that's a lot of demographics too. So
and again, the same for Asian people, which are now a lot more present in Romania, not in all parts, but at least in the capital. And that's different because our universities get a lot of foreign students because they're pretty good and cheap. So there's a lot of variety there. But if you go into a smaller town, those people have probably never seen anyone that's not white or Roma. That's it. Those are the only two races they know. Or Middle Eastern, because we have a lot of Turkish nationals living here, or because we've been under Ottoman control for a long time. It's just, I mean, I'm not trying to push things into books just to, you know, make a point, because, I mean, even if I write fiction, I try to stay true to history, at least a little bit, not pretend to rewrite it. Of course, if it's a fantasy world I make up, then I have all the liberties. If I try to base it in a real place, I try to stay true to that place and not shove things under the rug and pretend that everything is all roses and butterflies and whatever, because I don't think that helps. So it's a fine line to walk, you know. But I think it's important to do it and try to be honest about the world and how things are in writing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Not everybody agrees with that, especially when you write romance. Fair warning, but you know.
Well, I mean, I think romance. I think the number one reason why I started writing romance is because it is. Well, for me, it's easy. It's easy to write romance because there aren't strict guidelines, and I don't know. I think for me, like having the ability to be as fantastical, especially in a romance, is wonderful. And one of the things that I was starting to notice in romances was these relationships that weren't necessarily healthy relationships. And that was at like the forefront of the story. And it was like, well, you know, I started thinking about it and I was like, I don't necessarily want my daughter to grab a book off the shelf and start reading it and read about these very poisonous relationships.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, I would not recommend like 50 Shades of Grey to anyone. If you're into BDSM, there are a lot more books on that are not abusive. It's fine.
Right.
You can find that. By the way, there's nothing wrong with BDSM.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with abuse, and that's what 50 Shades is.
Right. And that's why I wanted to do as much research on it as I could, because as I started doing my research, I started realizing and meeting people who live, and that is that's their culture, that's their lifestyle, is the BDSM. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to, you know, paint them as like not good people. And and that was part of my research. Oh, that's beautiful. And I was like, you know, I want to make sure that even though they're having fun, the characters in my book are having fun and they're exploring these new things and everything, I wanted it to be in a very healthy environment, because I've noticed that there's like this trend of, hey, let's have these terrible relationships. And I'm like, no. Yeah. So I've been having a lot of fun learning about all these different things and then bringing it together, and like it's set in a very healthy, and there's environment, and there are poisonous relationships within the environment, because that's what you find in the world. So I don't know, I think it's really neat, and for me it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can have them as past relationships or relationships people get out of eventually. I did have like I have a book that's called Lover's Journey, and it's based in Romania. That's the series, sorry, and there are 3 books in it. And the first book is a friends to lovers sort of relationship, but it's a very weird and difficult one. It makes sense in the culture, and it's just the first book in the series, and that stops after that. It moves into a new relationship that gets to be a lot healthier.
Right.
It's healthier from the start. Only the 2 guys are not honest enough with each other and with themselves about how they feel, but it's never as the old one used to be. And I think that's important too, to grow out of these things, show a character like through their journey as they grow out of a very unhealthy relationship and move into a different one. Yes. And the thing is that I kind of like challenges, and now I'm thinking of writing a new book in this series just to redeem the bad character from the first book, because I like to do that. I mean, it's the moment someone tells me that they absolutely hate character X or Y or Z, I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to make you love this guy by the end.
Yeah. Well, that was because go ahead.
Because, you know, people do learn and they do grow up and get better if they want to. So why not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that was one of the things. One of my beta readers said to me, you know, she was like, I absolutely loved this specific character, and then all of the sudden I hated him and I just wanted to watch him die. And I was just like, okay, then I've done my job. So you fell in love with him, and then you realized. And so I was the same way. I was thinking to myself, now I need to make her love him again, because as human beings, we can redeem ourselves. It's not always the easiest thing, but no, this particular character is, you have to love him at first, and then you have to hate him, and then he might get killed.
Oh God, I'm glad I'm not the only one turning everything bloody.
I know. No.
I mean, I mean, my Bad Blood books do get kind of dark, and the third one is like a bit of a bloodbath, and then the witch story, the first book starts with a murder in the first chapter. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you do. You just have to have like, and it's more for like, it brings that like shock, or it adds it for the scene that I started getting a little bit gruesome in. It was for it. I wanted the reader to experience that emotional angst, that, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And at that moment, that's when you just despise the character, because you're just like, how could this happen? And so I love that. And that was one of the big things that I wanted to achieve with my first novel, was having those emotional experiences for the reader. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so dog is getting a lot restless, so before he starts jumping around, I think we should do a round of promos. While he's still letting us, he's used to this taking for about 2 hours. So the moment I hit the 2-hour mark, and we're well past that now, he starts getting progressively more antsy and whiny. Shut up! I'll be with you soon. It's fine. Okay, so please entertain our viewers, whoever is still with us and not completely absorbed by their Saturday by now. Tell us a bit more about you and share whatever you feel like sharing and promoting.
Okay. So I am currently in the editing process for my novel, The Awakening, and I am building a website where I can interact with my readers more easily. And I am actually currently in the search process for beta readers. So if anybody watching is interested, shoot me a message and I'll get you a copy of my beta reading book.
Awesome. Your channel is linked in the description. So if you're not following Lina already, please go and do so right now. Because, we always need more subscribers. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always have very interesting videos on my channel. So
yes, obviously. I don't have a lot of new stuff for you. I will have new stuff starting next week when I start publishing. So look out for my new book on Monday, unless something goes horribly wrong, but I don't think it will this time around. Tomorrow I'll have my genre talk live stream with Nikki. We're talking holiday books, so Christmas, New Year's, all that jazz, and trends and covers and everything. It starts at, oh God, let me do math. So it starts at 2:30 a.m. Central, half an hour past midnight on the Pacific Coast. So it's great for the US as a time slot, but Nikki's in Australia, I'm over here. That's what we could work with, but you can always watch the rerun after that. And other than that, another big announcement. I was doing vlogs for Nano, and I filmed sporadically, and I never edited any of the weeks. So I've decided to do a big vlog for the entire Nano and release it next week. So look out for that. And my bullet journal setup for December is coming out, and then my series on AuthorTube related issues. And that's the schedule for December. And we'll see you again in a live stream, I suppose, on Friday on Sarah's channel at 7 p.m. Central, and again here next Saturday. And until then, have fun. And get ready for Christmas, I guess, if you're celebrating.
Right.
Okay, thank you everyone for being here with us, and good job everyone. You all did great. So we'll see you soon. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.